I think you've touched upon something quite nicely there. Have you ever had a conversation with your dad to say, look, you know... with Pete. Sorry. Yeah. It's just awkward because obviously you call him Pete and I call him Daddy. So it's really awkward to understand which one to go with. Hello and welcome to another edition of the How I Failed in Business podcast, where we want to bring to you all of the business blunders stolen from you, the business owners, entrepreneurs, salespeople, professionals go through. We want to talk about these mistakes so that you don't make them. And if you do, we can all laugh about them later on anyway. My name's Rob Spence, one of your hosts, and this is...
Sophia Grace, your other host.
The better host. And I'd like to introduce you to Alex Daly of Dalys.
Thank you.
Or should I say Daly Systems? I should have probably said that off camera, shouldn't I?
Daly Systems is fine. We're more affectionately known, I think, as Dalys.
Well, I'm very affectionate towards you and your business, so we'll call it Dalys. But Alex, thanks for joining us today. I've only pestered you about 27 times, I think, to come on here.
I'd say at least 30, but, you know, we can work
30, yeah. I think, it's more because we had, the early editions of the sales cycle that I think I was pestering you for, yes. And you didn't do anything with it. But I really appreciate your time today. So,
love a little dig.
I just want to make sure it's all recorded. But Alex, tell me about yourself. Tell me about Dalys. What do you do? What don't you do? Why are Dalys so awesome?
Awesome, thank you. So I'm Alex from Daly Systems in Leicester, as Rob kind of alluded to. I have worked in the business for 12 years. The business itself has been going for 28, which is really cool. We help businesses and organisations with all things technologies. That can be anything that is IT related, telephony related. And it can be things from supplying people with laptops all the way through to managing people's networks, security and all those kind of things. Anything really that you put on a network is things that we can help you with. So yeah, that's I think Dalys in a nutshell.
It's a lovely nutshell.
Fantastic. And in terms of your role at Dalys, what does that sort of look like? So when I first joined the business, I joined to work in our admin department. I say I've been with the business for 12 years, so that feels like a distant memory, fresh out of school. I was a very different person to what I am now. People that know me now, obviously Rob knows me quite well. When I first left school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. The opportunity came to work for Dalys temporarily during the holidays and all those kind of things, which we'll probably go into a bit more detail later on. It was my dad that set the business up. There was never a plan for me to work there. Never in a million years. People would always say, oh, you'll end up working at Dalys. No, it's not for me. Because when I used to go in during the school holidays and things to earn some pocket money, it was brilliant, don't get me wrong. But I thought data cleansing, filing and looking at spreadsheets and adding up numbers and all those kind of things was what people at Dalys did. So when I left school, I was very fortunate to be given a temporary role within the business. And I started doing a few bits and bobs there. The opportunity then came for me to go full-time employed. So I jumped at the chance. I think it was safe to say when I left school, I did my A-levels for a couple of years, purely because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought, buy myself a couple of more years. I was working. I've always worked from sort of 12, 13 years old, very into horses and animals. So I was fortunate I worked at a local farm shop, and I used to teach children about horse and pony care as well. So I always had that sort of drive and the want to earn money. And it came to the end of my A-levels and my friends were like super organised. Like one wanted to be a teacher, one wanted to be a project manager, one wanted to work in finance. And then it's little old me going, I don't know what I want to do. So anyway, joined Dalys, fresh out of school, and I was very, very quiet, which people now look at me and say, what? So much so that it actually took me 6 months to actually pick up the phone, which in a communications company, the irony you can say. But yeah, I was super timid and everyone used to think like, I'm sure she knows what's going on, but like, she doesn't say a lot. I just got on with my tasks, did what I needed to do. And that was kind of it. So fast forward 12, just coming up to 12 years. As I started in admin, I did a little bit of finance. I was very fortunate that the business said, help me. I went through my AAT. So I did AAT level 2, which was brilliant. It was an eye-opener to know that I didn't want to work in finance. However, it's something to have under my belt. And again, has really helped me to understand lots of different aspects from within the business, which I can now use day to day. As a business in 2012, we made quite a big investment into what we call our own billing platform. So that meant that rather than people coming to us and say, here, buy your phone system from here, get all the great bits of plastic and do all those things, we can now look after and do everything. So we can essentially, you come to us and we can do it all for you. rather than going to BT for your phone lines, for your internet connections, you can come to Dalys and we deal with all those kind of things. So the business grew quite heavily. That team, which at the time was provision and procurement, that grew quite a lot. And within the business, it was kind of like, we need someone to head up that team. So this was probably, I want to say 4 years into me working there, and I thought, throw my hat into the ring. A couple of interviews and things, and I was very fortunate to get that job. So that was awesome, like a little step up for me. Still wasn't overly confident, good at what I was doing and happy to speak to our customers on the phone and working with the guys in the office. But still, if you just said to me, fast forward a couple of years and you'll be out there in the big wide world doing this, I mean, wowee, like that's amazing and a fantastic opportunity. But I would have been hiding under the desk. The thought that would have scared the living daylights out of me. I always kind of knew when I was doing that role, really enjoyed it. Like no day is ever the same. And I think that's safe to say now is probably even more, it's never the same. And I'm really fortunate and I love doing what I do. But I always knew that there was something else. I always saw the guys that were in kind of like our sales and marketing team. They were going out, they were meeting clients, they were in their car, they were singing their way to meetings. And I was like, I would love to do that. I didn't know how to bridge that gap or to how to do that. Like there was something that needed to happen within me to say, so that's what I want to do. This is where I am now, which I was loving what I was doing, but there was something more. And it took, I think, quite a few years of working in the business and speaking to lots of different people, whether that's clients or friends or family, and kind of encouraging me to do that. And I eventually then, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but moved into sales like an internal role, which was great, very fortunate for that. I started building rapport with my clients over the phone. It was never going out and about. And I remember one day the opportunity came. Someone said, oh, could you come out and have a look at this for us, Alex? And I was like, yeah, I think so. So anyway, I finished the call, booked the meeting, and I went to my boss, it's still my boss now. I said, am I okay to go and do that? They were like, yeah, of course, like fully booked, do your thing. So I went, and again, so that was like the next step. I almost moved into, I hate the word field sales, but it was kind of going out and about a little bit more, like actually going to customer sites. And that was a really big insight for me, because when you're sitting in the office and you're talking to people on the phone, it's great, you build that rapport. But I think until you go into a business and you look at the environment, you look at the office, you look at how they present themselves, you're able to know so much more about a business by just being in their presence. And I think to this day now, with the role that I do now, which has now moved, sort of done a spin on its head, and I'd probably say to myself 7 years ago when I was sat there going, I want to do that, I'm doing that. And it's really nice to be able to sit here. I think I've got the best job in the world. Like, I get to go out and about, meet loads of different people.
You get to go on podcasts.
I get to go on podcasts. I get to go out and just... It's amazing, like going out and understanding and helping people. I speak to so many different people that say that a lot of people have the opinion on the business communications, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I'm completely for that. However, the other sort of how I kind of spin it on its head sometimes is, what's the impact if that doesn't work? If there's a problem with your communications, who do you talk to? Who do you go to if that? What's the impact of that not working? And I think because I pride myself in going to meet our clients when we're going to meet them and want to understand, as I say, how they work, what makes them tick, how do they get their business, so we can make sure that they're never in that situation. And if they do have a problem with their communications, they know that they can speak to Alex or they can speak to the team at Dalys. They know who they're talking to. So yeah, I think now I've gone all around about the houses and told you my journey within Dalys. But yeah, nearly 12 years in. So I'm a business development manager within the business.
And it sounds like in order to get that role, you sort of had to reconcile your issues with your sort of confidence and putting yourself out there. Was that sort of like one pivotal moment, or how did that sort of come about, you working on that?
I think I recognised when I started going out and about, I knew when I was in our procurement area, I was like, that's really cool, but how do I get to that point? I then moved into sales and it was a lot more communication, but still initially it was still, a lot of it was over the telephone, which again is brilliant. And it was when I started going out and about and meeting these clients and then going to this thing that I heard that was called networking. And I was like, wow, that sounds really good. How do I do it? How do I network? And I had this really big misconception that you had to be a certain type of person to be networking. Yeah. You had to wear a suit, no disrespect, Rob, looking very smart, but you had to be that person and you had to look like this and you had to walk like this and you had to talk like this. And to start with, I found it very difficult. And I got a very good friend of mine who I bounced so many different ideas off. He's fantastic. He helped me a lot.
It's me.
You're my second friend. Thank you. Honey, I've got a whole 2 friends now. I'm doing well 30 years in. And it was that thing that someone just around to me and said, have you tried being yourself? Have you tried going into a room and just being Alex? And people laugh because I talk about myself in the third person. But just go and be yourself and see how that suits. And here we are. But it took a massive... that sounds like it was an overnight fix. It really wasn't. I knew that I would love to go out and be doing all these things and going out and talking to all these people, because I thought, like, how cool is that? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it was a long, prolonged period of time. I've been with a certain organisation now that helps me with the networking and quite a lot of different things. I've been within that for a year, and putting myself in those positions that I would see as uncomfortable is only how I've grown and how I've changed. The more I've done it, the easier it's got. And now I love it. I get a buzz. If I get to do a 10-minute presentation or even a 60-second presentation each week, I get excited about it. Whereas before, I was the person with the heart beating out my chest, sweaty palms. Oh my God, everyone's going to judge me. What in the world's going on? I think that a bit of advice I could give to people, if you want to do it, try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? As long as you don't hurt anybody, you don't upset anybody on purpose, go out and have a go. If it doesn't work out, you don't have to do it again, or change your tactics and go back again. Yeah. I think that's something that I probably learned. I wish I'd had this conversation with myself a few years ago, but then I guess you could say if I had, I wouldn't have learned what I've learned along the way.
But you're here now.
Yeah. Here we are.
And I know Sophia's got some questions about the business, but just on the sort of realm of networking, I think you've underplayed a little bit like how well you've done in networking, because you've told us upstairs you're now NST, which I believe is a secretary treasurer.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's good news. So that's because normally these 3-syllable networking events, there are... I had to quickly count in my head. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. I got
lots of numbers.
Yeah, no, a lot to count on my third hand. But there's 3 people on the head table. You've normally got the Treasury Secretary Treasury. Yeah. Well, so you got the
president, you got the vice president, and then you got the secretary. I've lost it now. Put my teeth back in.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, secretary treasurer. Yes,
yeah.
The group.
So you've done really well in a short space of time. And it's been, looking on the outside, I really hope I don't sound patronising at all, but it's like been great to see that development in you and just to see you grow. You've kind of alluded to it a little bit. How did you feel that very first networking event you went to? What were the emotions going through your head?
I was conned into going for a breakfast. I'm a big foodie, and someone said to me, just come along. And I went, oh no, I'm not sure it's for me. Just come along and I'll buy you breakfast. Okay, cool. And I was instantly met with this particular group. When you walk into a room and you feel comfortable, and for me, that was a massive thing. I mean, it's a big thing for a lot of people, but I struggled really, really badly. Well, not really badly. I struggled with self-confidence a lot. I'm sure we all do at different times in our lives, but for me, to believe that I can actually do that the same way that somebody else could, I just needed to believe in myself, that I could do it and put myself in those situations. So I walked into the room with these guys and was instantly met warm. There was good banter in the room. Like, I'm sure we all like a bit of banter every now and again. And I just felt really comfortable. And then I think from me going a couple of times, I've built some relationships, had some coffees with a couple of people. And it was like, yeah, these are my kind of people. But again, I remember the first presentation that I did to a room of like probably about 30 people. I was absolutely terrified. But the feeling afterwards, I was like, I can do it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it was far from perfect. But the fact that I'd gone, put myself out of my comfort zone, stood up there and done it, only by doing that have I gone, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah. Where's next? So, yeah, it's really cool. But thank you. Appreciate that.
No, good. I haven't been cross-patronising at all. But, it has been great seeing it. I know Sophia said that she wants to come along to one of your events and do a speech at some time.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, well, that was a bit of a throw under the bus. But you know what? If you throw it at me, I'll take it. Go for it. So which was it that sort of came first then? So it was the networking that led into the confidence for the role?
I think it was probably a bit of both. I think I recognised I needed to do something to change because I was here and I wanted to be somewhere a bit further over here. And the only person that's going to do it was me. I think within the business, I've always been really, really fortunate is I've always had a lot of support. So if I thought of an idea, I've got a platform to be able to go and say, what are your thoughts of this? I mean, sometimes it was very far-fetched and barbaric, but it was the place where I can go and I can say to the guys, what do you think? So very fortunate for that. I knew that I wanted to go out and do it. And I think it kind of sort of came together, if that made sense. I knew where I wanted to be, knew what I wanted to do, or a direction I wanted to go in. I said I need to do it, and someone gave me the opportunity to do it. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So I think it was kind of a combined thing.
So you said obviously about support in the business. If I can maybe pull on that a little bit, you do have family ties in the business.
Yeah.
We have had guests on previously who have had very differing experiences to you with working with family.
Yeah.
We've said to them, how have you failed in business?
Yeah.
What's your biggest mistake in business? Family. Yeah. Working with family, working with friends, going anywhere near family. You've had a completely different experience, I believe. How has it been working with family for you?
I think it's been pretty good on the whole. Just to give a bit of background, I think I might have mentioned it earlier. So my dad, Peter, set the business up. Always been Pete or Peter at work. He's Peter at work to everybody else, so he's Peter at me. Peter to me as well. There was never a plan for me to join the business. When I did join the business, I've always had a manager or a director that I've reported to as my boss. I've never gone to Peter and asked for anything. It's the business has a structure, and I've been treated exactly the same, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it's worked really well, to be honest, because I think sometimes we collectively bounce ideas off each other across the whole team. And I don't think it's affected it at all. I think because when Peter the business employed me, I've always had this thing, is people say, well, you work for your dad. No, I absolutely do not work for my dad. I work for Daily Systems. I always have done. And for however long I'm there, I always will do. And I think that was kind of set out from day one. And we're both very conscious of that. If there's anything that needs changing or amending or someone I need to go to, it wouldn't be Peter that I went to, it would be my boss, Paul. And that's always been the case. And I think by having that set out very early on, it's not difficult for any members of staff, because I've been told before from people when they've joined the business, they were like, oh gosh, you're the boss's daughter. Like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm Alex at Dalys. The same way that you're Matt, that you're Dave, that you're Jess. I'm Alex at Dalys. I'm not Alex Daly at Dalys. That's not a thing. And I think from very early on, that was kind of put in place, and we've just kind of embraced it and rolled with it. Yeah, so far so good.
Has there ever been a moment where you maybe not in a work setting where you kind of had to reconcile that relationship, where there has sort of been a moment where you're like, right, enough now, or you've been like, okay, you're overstepping, this is a bit much?
I think we both have times where we perhaps want to talk about things, and we can do. But it's never really caused a problem. I think, again, because of the fact that Peter doesn't work directly with me and I don't report directly to Peter, it's always kept that way. So there obviously is conversations. You can't just I'm definitely not a person that can shut off at 5 o'clock and then jump on again at 8:30 in the morning. And obviously that goes without saying with Peter, how he set up the business. It's his baby. But I think both we have been very conscious of that and made sure that doesn't cause any problems. So I don't think it's ever been an issue. And I'd like to say it wouldn't be an issue, but it's because we kind of put that in place from day one.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I think we said it with, I can't remember who it was now, I think that communication, setting those, like, whether you call them ground rules or barriers, I mean, we've never taken on anyone that are family members, but we've taken on people that are close friends or have been friends or whatever. Obviously, everyone who does work here becomes a friend anyway, so it's all okay. But, work friends. But I think I've always said, look, work is work, outside is outside. If things don't work out, then that doesn't affect what's going on outside. It's quite a distinct line. So have you ever had sort of those conversations around the dining table where you're hearing, things about the business and you're like having to stay quiet or anything? Or
I don't really. It's not really been a thing. I think we have conversations about certain things, but again, Peter respects that I am a member of staff, and I respect that Peter's a director of the business.
Still love the fact you call him Peter. I'm sorry.
It's got to be. It always has been. And even talking to my friends sometimes, if it's a work scenario, I'll say, "Oh, Peter mentioned this," or "I went out with Peter to do X, Y, Z," or Pete rather than Peter.
Yeah.
It sounds very formal. Pete. But yeah, my friends laugh at me, but they're just taking it now because I think it's that just ingrained. I don't even think. Obviously, his dad out of work, and if I'm going, like, we went out for lunch last weekend, it was dad when we were out, but it's important to me that it stays that way. So yeah, I can't help it.
Have a nice split. No, it's nice. Like I say, it's lovely to see. You know, I think it's important, and I think like when you look at your history and what you're running through, sort of with all your roles that you've done, it's nice to see. And once again, I mean this in the nicest respect. And I know it's been purposely done. You've not just been granted that kind of position of power. You've not been, you know, fed with a silver spoon. You've had to work your way up. You know, we said upstairs, you've worked and you've proven yourself.
Thank you.
You know.
Yeah, I think it's always been one of those things that I think internally I've probably felt like I had to prove myself. So I joined the business as like essentially an office junior and admin assistant or whatever you wanted to call it at the age of 18, fresh out of school. It was my first full-time role, so there was a lot to learn thrown into the world of work. But for me, I think it's one of those things where I've had to convince myself that I'm good enough, because that sounds a bit strange, but to say I'm doing the job that I'm doing because I'm the best person to do the job, it's got nothing to do with the fact that Pete owns the business. It never has done. And I think I've probably been really, really hard on myself and said, I need to work twice as hard and do these things, but I'm super passionate about what we do. I love what we do, and I hope that comes across to people. And I want to make sure we do it right. Regardless of who I am, the nature of what I'm doing in the business is majority now business development and shouting about what we do, but it's because I truly believe that we're good at what we do, nothing to do with any ties with the family.
And that's what I love most, you know. So Sophia, I know I'm distracting from the questions that we've set out again, which is typical me, but I've known you now for 3 years, maybe a little bit longer. Feels like a lifetime, doesn't it? I don't know whether it's an honour or a hindrance, but what I love about you is, and you say it in your LinkedIn profile, and you've said it once before, like, you truly care, and I think that's what I've come to love and learn about you. You know, obviously we're an award-winning telemarketing agency, so we are run by telephones, you know, and we probably get 2 or 3 inquiries per week of, you know, people trying to sell to us and say, look, we want to sell to you, why don't you take this for you? But it's always sold on cost, it's always sold on price, it's sold on this. But what you've come to do over the years is like come to learn us as a business and like what we're trying to achieve. I even, you know, we're looking again at potentially a second office, and I was trying to tell you how I would fix a problem, and you were like, no, Rob, this is how we'd solve the problem, and it was a much better idea than mine. You know, but
we've got this on recording.
Yeah, it was. For once I was wrong. But no, it was a much better idea. And like I say, and that's not just with ourselves. I've seen it with the other people that you work with and do some work with. So we will ask you a bit more about the roles that you've done, and we've got some other little questions to ask you. We're going to take a quick 1.7. Why do I keep saying 1.7 minute break? We're going to take. We're going to take a little 5.1 minute break, and after these words from our sponsors.
Hey, Spence.
Hey, Sophia.
Don't you think someone would be silly to not go with the paragon of sales for their sales and marketing?
Oh, you'd be foolish.
You would be
absolutely foolish.
so silly. Luckily, I happen to know a company.
No.
And they are, by design, a paragon of sales and marketing.
Really? Tell me more.
They handle it all. We're talking fully outsourced sales.
Fully outsourced sales?
That's telesales with lead generation, appointment setting, high conversion rate. We're talking marketing. Now, this isn't just any marketing. This is digital marketing. Sounds like an M&S advert.
We need some Fleetwood Mac playing in the background.
We've got web design.
Can we do that?
We'll get copyright strike.
Oh, okay.
Web design, SEO, social media management, and mail outs.
That's right, we can't forget the mail outs.
We can't forget the mail outs.
So for these foolish people that are using a substandard marketing agency, what should they do next?
They should send us an inquiry about how we can help them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
To our email at hello@paragonsalessolutions.co.uk. You should go to our website www.paragonsalessolutions.co.uk, or they should hit us up on our socials at Paragon Sales Solutions.
Amazing.
Amazing.
I think that was my favourite.
Yeah, I did look at that and I thought, but rather you than me.
Is that what's on yours?
Yeah, sorry, darling.
Okay, I know roughly what it was. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I'll jump you into it. Are we back on?
Amazing. So the professionalism seeps out of this podcast.
I bet you were listening on your way. They're like, they're so professional. They know exactly what they're doing. Yeah.
Into a million pieces.
Right. Well, welcome back.
We're back in the room. Back in
Back in the room. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. So, Alex, you said earlier, what's wrong?
Did we not just say that I was going to leave it back in?
I'm just sorry. Sorry.
One more question, then you can talk for a little bit.
Go on, you leave it.
Okay. What? Well, so. Okay, guys, welcome back. So, Alex, you've talked about how long you've obviously been at Dalys. 12 years now, and how you sort of worked up and you sort of had your foot in a lot of different pies. You've tried a lot of different roles, and obviously we kind of got to the point where you're now. You said at the start of the business, this is where you wanted to be. You're there now. But in terms of a role where you were like, that was not for me. I know you sort of touched at finance, but was there a job where you're like, I cannot do this anymore?
I like to think of it as everything that I've done has been an opportunity and I've learned something.
Yeah.
I try to have that kind of outlook on things. Is if it goes wrong or whatever, you learn from it. I wouldn't say there's a job or a role that I've done. I've gone, oh my god, this absolutely isn't for me. I was super grateful. I thought accounts, the buzzword was account. I want to be an accountant and do all those kind of things. So I was really grateful to be able to have the opportunity to go. I went to college to do a night school to look at AAT and do that kind of thing. And I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but there was always that thing that I wanted to do the talky bit. As how I look at it in simple terms. I wanted to do the talky bit, but again, I go back to I didn't know how to get there and I didn't know how to do it. And I probably didn't voice that to many people. It was just one of those things that I thought that's I like the look of that. I like the sound of it. I don't know how to get there. So I don't think there was anything that I actually looked at and went, oh my god, I hate this. I'm really not enjoying it. Because from me doing AAT, albeit only level 2, it was again what I do now. It's given me a really rounded understanding of the business. I think the area of the business we actually physically worked in, our office is over 2 floors, so I sat downstairs when I was going through that, doing the admin and accounts and bits and bobs. I learned a lot, so whilst I realised that perhaps wasn't the exact role that I wanted to be doing for a long term, sitting downstairs with our service desk guys, so within the business, any products and services stuff that you have with us are all fully supported. And we've got a fantastic team of guys. We've got 8 guys that are fully office based. And they're taking the calls, receiving calls on any changes, any faults, any problems. So whilst I realised perhaps that wasn't the thing for doing for me, when I was sat downstairs, I learned so much more about what we do and how we do it from hearing those guys on the phone and asking questions and having that understanding. It makes it sound like we're miles away now. All the way up 13 steps. But again, there was an opportunity with everything that came along, and it's just given me a broader understanding of what we do and how we do it and why we do it, which I think is probably more so important than everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's fantastic. At least you've not got one job where you're like, oh my gosh, if I have to do this in one more week, I quit. Because that would, I imagine, be quite an awkward conversation.
Difficult. It's not for me anymore. But no, not at all. It's doing good.
So that, I think you've touched upon something quite nicely there. Have you ever had a conversation with your dad to say, look, with Pete. Sorry. Yeah. It's just awkward because obviously you call him Pete and I call him Daddy. So it's really awkward to understand which one to go with. So have you ever had that conversation where you're look, kind of flip and reverse what we said earlier? Have you ever had that conversation, say, look, Dad, when the time's right, I may look elsewhere, or I may be tempted elsewhere. Have you ever had that conversation with him, or no?
No. I generally hand on heart, no.
No.
I've been given.
Are you just saying that because he's listening?
No,
Is that,
no, not interested.
Oh God, he's going to listen to this, isn't he?
I don't know.
He's going to hear me say, call him daddy.
We'll soon find out.
Sorry. Sorry.
Joke's on you, pal. No, it's one of those things that I think if a conversation needed to be had, then it would absolutely be have had, but it would have been out of Dalys. It would have been on a Alex dad relationship, not Pete and Alex at work, if that makes sense. But no, generally
nothing like that. No. You kind of alluded to something upstairs before we started rolling, you know, and obviously, look, this podcast is all about, although it's got a very stringent, you know, strict word of how I failed in business, we want to get the mistakes, the blunders, you know, the mishaps, the failings, the things that just go wrong, anything extreme, you know, right to the little small bits and bobs. Surely you've done stuff wrong in your elusive career. Is there anything you'd like to share?
I think how I kind of worded it to you both a little bit earlier, obviously I'm an employee within the business, so I take pride in what I do, what a fantastic team. I think my probably spin on it would be how I nearly failed myself. And I would have failed myself within the business had I not done something about me having those feelings of, oh no, I can't do that, it's not for me. The whole imposter syndrome thing I find is really interesting. Yeah. Not trying to get too deep, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I can't be doing this. Why am I doing this? Am I the right person? Blah, blah, blah. Have a go. Have a go, and if it doesn't work out, okay. But I think that's probably something that I've come to understand in the last couple of years. I think I said earlier, confidence has always been a bit of a thing for me, which again, when people meet me now, they're like, what? Like, are you okay? But saying when I first started with the business, it took me 6 months to be able to answer the phone. And we're very fortunate, a couple of the guys that still work at Dalys now. Our ops director, he's been with the business for 20 years, and Dave, my colleague, has been with us for 19 years. And I think sometimes they look at me and go, do you know what? Sometimes I wish you'd just go back to that 18-year-old and shut up for a minute. But yeah, it's funny how sort of along the way things have changed. But yeah, it's good.
So just on that imposter syndrome, I want to go deep a second, you know, because I think we've all gone through those stages of, and even now, sometimes, you know, I go through and I look back, you know, as you were talking now, I was thinking back to some examples. I remember, you know, weirdly, I was very similar. You know, I remember working at the base, home base, but we call it the base because it's cooler.
So cool.
It's the base. So
all I can think about is that all about that base. A base, no trouble.
Honestly, it made my career. But I remember getting sometimes you'd have to go on the tannoy. And like, you know, you send out it's only for, no, I can't say that. It's just an automatic air freshener. We should have got rid of that. But anyway, and going on the tannoy to like put out announcements, I used to shake. It was horrible. You know, be so nervous, just be like, good evening, home-based shoppers. This is a customer announcement. We're closing the store in 15 minutes. It's good voice though, isn't it? Like I'm made for it. I've got a face for radio. But with your imposter syndrome, will bypass me quite quickly. So otherwise it'll just go off on a random story and Sophia will like kill me. So was there any techniques you used to overcome that imposter syndrome? Was it just a case of jumping in and doing it?
I think I looked at it for a while. I knew something needed to change, like day to day with me. I've always been very active. I've always been outdoorsy. Like I've got a little dog, got a horse. So the outdoors has always been a big thing for me. And I think to start with, I was like, right, to be at your best self, what do you need to be and what does that look like? When are you at your happiest? And I kind of got myself, I was like, right, I need a little routine before I go to work. I don't just get up and get ready and go to work and come back and do that thing. Like, well, I wish it it would be nice to be able to just get up and go to work. But I have like a little routine in the morning. So I make sure I get up earlier, don't rush, have a little walk with the dog, get some fresh air, do that thing. And you feel like by the time I've got to work at 8 o'clock, what have you, I've already done quite a bit within my day. So mentally, I'm like, I've achieved something today. I'm happy, I'm buzzing. Maybe not be buzzing so much when I'm walking around the block at 5 a.m. in the morning and it's chucking it down with rain. But again, you're at work, you're in that good kind of mindset. And a lot of it for me was working on mindset and doing that kind of thing and trying to put yourself in your best position to feel good. Like I always laugh on the way to meetings. I put a song on I like singing to and I dance to my terrible Meghan Trainor impression that I just did then. Like, my thing is to get myself happy and in a good place when I go to a meeting to make sure that I show up as the best version of Alex. That sounds really cringy, but it's also very true. I don't want to go into a meeting feeling like, oh, I'm not feeling too great today. And it's being proactive and thinking, I'm the only one that is going to change my mindset and how I feel about something. So do it. If there's a problem, change it. And it was just little things, I think, for me as well. You know, during the gym recently, I just love exercise. I love being active. I'm doing that thing, and that's my happy place. So around work, and which I really enjoy as well, it's making sure I make time for that and to do things for myself as well. So yeah, I think it's that really helped me. I mentioned before, I've got some really good friends in business and out of business that I think some of the girls think, oh my God, all you talk about is work, but I love what I do, and it's a massive part of my life. It's not a job. For me, it's like, it's a lifestyle. Like networking events, like we go out and about. There's some mornings and some evenings and all those things, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But it's just adapting the lifestyle and everything to fit all that in and be the best person you can.
Yeah.
Not saying everything's always sunshine and rainbows. Everybody has their day. Sometimes you're a bit tired, but okay, crack on, get over yourself. Don't sit and dwindle and go, oh, I'm really tired today. But what's a waste of a day?
Yeah.
Go to bed early.
So I've listened. This is what these guys hear all the time. The amount of times, like, I have to say to Ria, like, just go to bed earlier, just do it. She's not listening. Oh, she's listening. Oh no.
Oh, it's the lock.
Yeah.
It's the lock.
It's been out. But I think, like, picking up on reading between the lines, I think, like, the point that I've kind of picked on is just listening to your body and your mind, and, you know, listening to what that does. Because, you know, I think our jobs, and, you know, Sophia's job as well, is really tough when we're selling things. We've got to be happy. You know, excitement sells, isn't it? You can't be like, even if you're on the phone, where it's face-to-face, email, if you're like, we all have personal lives, things go on, we get tired, whatever it is, we've got to be there. And those, like, you know, those like hype up playlists, you know, a bit of exercise, fresh air.
I always say, I think the lads in the office think sometimes I wouldn't, but just because I can't sing doesn't mean I won't. And if I'm in the car, that's kind of a me and the dog problem, but at the office...
Right, stand down a second. right.
Stand up, Sam.
So, I can sing.
You can sing,
We
but I
can
think
all
that's
sing.
almost,
I can sing very well.
again, what Alex said, just because you can sing doesn't mean you should.
Right, listen.
You do have a really, really lovely voice. When you have sang Frank Sinatra for the 8th time that day, do you not think I work in an office with people on the phone? Perhaps I should dial it back a bit.
Yeah, I do sometimes forget that we are on the phone. And
The whole office that is on the same floor as your office
I know.
is on the phone.
The other day I was coming out of my office and someone just I heard someone just like humming along to Angels by Robbie Williams, and it's just become stuck in my head, and I've gone down all the stairs just blasting it out. I get into the toilets, which I think is my, you know, my inner sanctuary, my peaceful
Great
place.
echo in there.
But the thing is, I forget that your office is directly.
It's probably even louder. It just radiates up, and I'm like, oh, here he goes again. Although it's the Les Mis that really gets me. You listen to the whole musical, one-man band over here. He's gone through the entire soundtrack. You do love it.
I do. And recently I've become are you a musical fan, Alex?
So. I know a few Joseph songs with the Technology Code, Close My Eyes and all that.
So we had a guest in yesterday, Lucy Kay, who once played as the narrator. Is it the narrator?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Should she got all the words wrong?
Got the names. Not Joseph, but the rest.
It's quite funny. She'll say, you'll have to obviously listen to the episode, and of course, if you're listening to this, go and check out Lucy Kay's episode. Once you've listened to Alex, of course. And during her first audition for Britain's Got Talent, she only learned half of the song and wasn't expecting them to want the whole thing. So she had to make up the lyrics for the second half.
That's amazing.
And because it was an operatic song, it was all in Latin, like the average... Oh, Italian, yeah, that's probably a better way of saying it, yeah. Luckily, the average person wouldn't know, but like she had so many hate comments from like proper fans.
But ultra fans being like, she's talking nonsense.
But it's an audition at that point.
In front of Simon Cowell, Amanda Holden, Alicia
Million
Dixon.
people watching at home.
Yeah,
Wow.
insane.
Good for her though for improvising and just cracking on.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. Right?
Exactly, which we all have to do at some stage. So what's next for Alex? What's next for Dalys?
I think for me, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing at the moment, business development. So just getting out and meeting new people and helping as many businesses and organisations as we can. We've done quite a lot of work with not-for-profits recently, which is really, really nice. Not not only to be able to save them some money, obviously fantastic. We've got, especially in Leicester, I think we're so fortunate to have so many brilliant charities. So we've worked with quite a few and looking to work with a couple more. So to be able to give them some cost saving and then improving their efficiencies and how they're working, I love that. Like, that's my little happy place. I'd love to do more of that. I think as far as the business, it's just drive us forward. We're expanding. We're looking for a couple of new members of staff, which is really cool. And doing more of what we love and what we enjoy. And I'd like to say what we're good at doing. So yeah, I think that's it. In a nutshell, it's just more of the same would be awesome.
Yeah. Amazing. But no, thanks so much for your time today. I'm sure there's going to be some people watching this who want to stay in touch, to want to hear more about your singing and, you know.
Maybe not the singing, but, you know.
How can people get in touch with you? Where's the best place for them to reach out?
If LinkedIn, for me, is Alex Daly, D-A-L-Y, no I. Oh, so many people get that wrong. It's D-A-L-Y. Is there an E in it? No. Is there an I? No, there's also not an I in it.
I thought you were asking me.
D-A-L-Y. So Alex Daly on LinkedIn. The business is Dalys or Daly Systems, so www.dalys.co.uk. And you'll find all our details there.
Amazing. But we'll make sure we drop the links below the video. But Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
No, it's been great fun. It's like they fly by, don't they?
Absolutely.
We didn't plan out who's going to sign off.
I'll sign up.
You sign off.
Okay, guys. So yeah, you can find us on How I Failed in Business across pretty much every platform. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, and we of course are on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Google Podcasts, wherever you do listen to podcasts. And we're also on YouTube if you want to watch the video version, see our faces. I'm smiling at you now. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.